And when I picked up my girlfriend's phone, I was going through the photos and I saw there were photos of other people's eggplants. Like they weren't even mine. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to a super embarrassing story. So today's story all starts off back in my grade 11 year. And I remember in grade 11, I actually had a girlfriend. If you guys don't know, I had a girlfriend that was once my sneaky link, but then I guess me and her adapted feelings for each other and we ended up dating. Now, a couple things I should mention about this girl. She was a blonde girl that was super attractive and honestly, she was really, really hot. A lot of people throughout the school actually knew about her, and I'm not gonna lie to you, she's also done the Devil's Tango almost more times than me, and let's just say it led to a lot of people not liking her because of this. But to be fair, a lot of people didn't like me because of it, so but who am I to make fun of her for doing basically what I did throughout high school? Going on though, me and her got along very well with each other, and it got to the point where I remember one day me and her, we actually ended up hanging out one time on the school field, and she told me, hey Bubba, I'm just wondering, do you want to maybe go on a date sometime? I don't know, I mean we can if you want. That's really up to you. I don't know. Me, I had a really hard time answering this question because I didn't want to lose her as a sneaky link, but at the same time, she did want to date me, so I wasn't really gonna say no because she wanted to actually have a formal relationship with me since me and her got along together super well. So I said sure, and I remember me and her, we ended up going on a bunch of dates. But I'm not gonna lie to you, every time we would go on a date, like for example, the one time when me and her went to the movies, we would sit down during the movie and start making out and stuff, but out of nowhere, her phone would just keep buzzing and vibrating for some very odd reason. I didn't really like this, and to be honest, as a guy that's officially dating a girl, you don't want your girlfriend's phone to be vibrating more than yours. It makes you feel really weird. I understand girls are normally more popular on social media and stuff, but when it's all just text messages from random numbers that she would not label, I knew something was up. Going on though, I remember one time I was at home and I was basically going on my Xbox playing Call of Duty with the boys, and as I was in the Xbox live party, out of nowhere, one of them ended up saying, yo Bubba, you still dating that weird girl? Me and my girlfriend? Yeah, me and her, are still dating. Why? Nothing, bro. I'm just gonna say this right now. I wouldn't date her, bro. I just wouldn't trust her. What do you mean? Well, bro, I don't know. There's rumors around the school that she keeps a lot of blackmail on her phone. I don't know. I just wouldn't trust her personally. So just my opinion, break up with her. Now, when the boys end up telling you to break up with a girl, chances are that 80% of the time, they're right. The girl's usually not worth it if all the boys don't approve, because who knows you better than the boys? And for the girls, same way around, who knows you better than the girls? From there, I remember I ended up telling them, guys, I don't know, me and her, we get along super well. I think it's totally fine. Let me just ride this out and see what happens, okay? And once I see a red flag, that's when I'll dip. Okay, man, whatever you say, it's your funeral. And we ended up continuing to play. Now, I'm not gonna lie, after that conversation, I felt really weird and I didn't really know what to think. I was really on the urge of just being yo, me and her should end things, but at the same time, me and her, we were really good at doing the Devil's Tango. So did I really want to lose that? And I already knew that at this point, we were so far into our relationship, which was only a month, by the way, but we were so far in my mind that breaking up with her would lead to basically me and her not being able to do the Devil's Tango anymore, and not even as a sneaky link. So at this time, I was really on the fence about things, and me and her over time, we actually started talking less and less because I would not talk to her as much, until I started realizing why she was so okay with me not talking to her as much, because as time went on, I ended up running up to her in the school hallway. I ran up to her and said, hey, I'm just curious, I'm sorry I haven't been talking too much. It's just, I've been just really thinking about things and stuff. Okay, well, I knew that already, but you want to maybe talk about it? I do miss you. No, everything's fine. I'm just curious. People are saying you hide blackmail and stuff. Is that true? Blackmail? I would never do that, Bubba. Why would I ever do that? No, that's not me. Okay, well, can I maybe see your phone then? No, why would you want to see my phone? What? Bubba, you're being weird. And she ended up walking away from me. Now, at this point, I knew something was suspicious. Something felt really off after that moment. I knew that whatever was on her phone was definitely got to be something illegal. Maybe she had blackmail. Maybe she had quadrillion dollars in crypto. I have no idea what she was having on her phone, but she did not want to tell anyone nor show anyone about it. And I remember I ended up going to my science class, and I had a class with one of her friends in science, and I walked up to her and I decided to sit down with her and ask her a question. I asked her, so I was just wondering, you know my girlfriend, right? Yeah, what about her? Well, I'm just curious, does she have anything weird on her phone? Bubba, are you telling me you don't trust her? No, I trust her. I'm just curious of what's on her phone. But that's for her to tell. That's not my issue. And she ended up moving seats away from me. Now, me doing this was a major red flag to, well, anyone. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it made me realized that maybe the boys were right. Maybe I should not see this girl anymore and maybe break up with her. But then things ended up turning out for the worse. Because after that moment, I remember I was hanging out with the boys in the cafeteria at lunchtime. And when I was sitting down at lunch, just hanging out with them, my girlfriend walked up to me saying, "Bubba, can I talk to you for a second?" Yeah, sure. Okay, well, come with me. I remember all the boys went, "Ooh," when she said that. And right away at that moment, I started to worry. I started to worry because I didn't really know what she was going to say or anything. And I didn't know, maybe she just wanted to break up with me then and there. And when she pulled me aside, I remember she said, "Bubba, did you ask my friends about my phone? Like, seriously, do you think they really know what's on my phone?" Well, I mean, why don't you just show me what's on your phone? No, babe, that's not the point. We're not talking about this right now, okay? Seriously, like, figure your stuff out, then call me. And she walked away. Obviously, at this point, I was kind of like embarrassed, but at the same time, I felt really heartbroken because, like, I don't know, I didn't know if I should trust her. I didn't know if I should not. Like, on my mind, I didn't really know what to think or say because what was so secretive that she had to keep on her phone until I found out. And the way I found out, I gotta say, was scarring because I remember 2 days went by and it was the weekend. It was Friday. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to be alone on a Friday. Let me call up my girlfriend. I called her up and I said, "Hey, babe, like, I know we have like a lot of troubles, but do you want to maybe come over and do what we do best? You know, the devil's tango." "Yeah, sure, I'm down. I'll come over." And she came over to my place. When she came over, I remember me and her, instead of talking at all, we ended up just going straight to my bedroom and we did the devil's tango. Like, not one singular word was said between each other other than moaning, which is really weird, by the way. I probably shouldn't mention that. YouTube, don't demonetize this video. I know it's really weird, the things I say on this channel, but you gotta understand it's for educational purposes. And one thing led to another. Me and her, when we were doing it, out of nowhere, she had to go to the bathroom. So she got up and said, "Bubba, I'm gonna quickly go to the bathroom. I'll be back." And when she went to the bathroom, I remember I look over to my side. I look at my nightstand and I saw her phone was there, but opened. Like it was already unlocked for some reason. At this point, I felt really weird. And I'm like, why is her phone unlocked? What do I do? And in my mind, I was just going through so much stress and anxiety to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go on her phone. I ended up grabbing her phone and going through messages and everything. And I started realizing that this girl was definitely cheating on me. But not only that, when I actually went into her photos and I went to her hidden folder, that was the eggplant emoji, I started realizing photos of my eggplant and photos of everyone else's eggplant. Even some of the boys, by the way, were in that folder. At that moment, I knew what this girl was doing. She was doing the devil's tango with people and saving the photos onto her phone of their eggplants. I found this super gross and I'm like, what in the world's going on? Like, ew. Like, no, I can't do this. And I remember at that moment, I saw her walk into the room and she's like, "Babe, what are you doing on my phone? What? Are you okay? Like, seriously?" And I broke up with her right then and there. I said, "Babe, this many eggplants on your phone? Are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing with all this? Are you actually blackmailing people?" "Babe, it's not what it looks like. It's for my safety." "Your safety of what?" And at that moment, yeah, I just broke up with her then and there. I felt super uncomfortable and she ended up leaving my place super upset. But obviously, I wasn't going to just let her go with all those photos. The next day at school, I remember I told all the boys about, you know, what she had on her phone. And all of us ended up basically going up to her and making her delete it in front of us. We all crowded around her and we said we would get the cops involved and stuff because obviously what she was doing was very, very illegal. And well, she did exactly what we said to do and she deleted all of them. And at that point, all of us had more rest in our minds that this has happened. And not to mention, years later down the road, she actually ended up becoming more popular and having more friends because she wasn't holding so much blackmail. So in a way, we did her a favor. But if you guys think what I found was insane, then just follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys. Now, for some reason, people believe that being toxic in a relationship is a good thing. But in my eyes, I don't think it is, because this one toxic ex I had back in my high school years was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But before we get into that story, make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do this and also makes the channel grow to more crazy things and more crazy stories just like this one. But other than that, let's just jump straight into today's embarrassing story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to a really embarrassing video. So today's story all starts off back in my grade 10 year. Now in grade 10, I was known for, you know, basically being the master of the devil's tango. And it got to the point where, I'm not gonna lie, I actually ended up getting locked up. If you guys don't know what I mean by locked up, I mean I ended up hopping into a relationship with a girl, which I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't loyal, but that's a story for another time. Because I remember basically, I ended up hopping into a relationship with one of the girls that was a cheerleader in my high school. Now this girl, she was really well known throughout my school, and a lot of girls actually looked up to her, and me thinking that I was in a relationship with this girl, it would score me points to talk to more girls, so if we never worked out, then I could just hop to the next person. Now I will say that was a really toxic mindset I had back in high school, and no one should have it. But I will say I do not regret it. And the reason is because I remember when me and this girl first got together, things seemed to be fantastic. Like we would hang out, we would go on dates, we would do the normal couple things. But then I want to say 1 month went by and this girl started doing things that were pretty scary. Like for example, I remember one time she ended up messaging me when I was laying in bed and she texted me saying, "Where are you right now?" I'm at home. "Are you at home, Baba? Are you really at home?" "Yeah, I'm at home laying in bed." "Send me a photo right now." I remember I ended up pulling out my phone and sending a photo of me being in bed. And she ended up saying, "Baba, that doesn't look like your bed. Send me your location right now." And then finally she ended up believing that I was at home. And then she ended up saying, "Okay, so you are home. Okay, well, I'm coming over right now. I need to talk to you." I remember she ended up coming to my door literally 5 minutes later as if she was already on the way when she started texting me. And I remember I let her in down to my room and me and her, we started talking. I ended up saying to her, "Yeah, like what's going on?" "Baba, honestly, a lot of girls are talking about you and I just need to make sure that like, you know, you stay mine." What does that mean? What? I remember at this point I was super confused on what this girl was talking about, but in a way, I guess she just wanted to, you know, make sure that was her. So blah, blah, blah. One thing led to another. As you guys may know, I do this a lot on this channel where I say I ended up doing the devil's tango. And that's what I did. And me thinking everything was calm and everything was good, things ended up getting more toxic. Because I remember literally the next week after, this girl walks up to me in the middle of class and literally walks up when the teacher was talking and teaching, by the way, and she comes up to me saying, "Baba, I need to talk to you right now." I remember my teacher looks over at me and her and says, can't you guys like talk about this like around lunchtime? Like we're in the middle of class right now." "No, we need to talk right now. Baba, outside now." I remember I looked at her in like a scared face and I didn't know what to say. I was embarrassed. I was shocked. I didn't know what was going on and everyone in the class was staring at me. So I remember I stood up and I ended up walking outside the classroom with her and I said, What's going on? "Baba, give me your phone right now." "Okay, sure. Why do you need my phone?" "Because you've turned off your location for me." "I did?" And then afterwards, she ended up going through my phone, turning on my location for her. And on top of that, she actually ended up going through my Snapchat and started basically seeing who was messaging me and stuff. When I saw this, I instantly took my phone back and I'm like, "Yo, like, what are you doing? Like, you gotta calm down. Like, what's gotten into you? Understand this. You are mine and I will kill anyone before they end up getting to you." "Okay, that's cute, babe," is what I said right after. And then she ended up leaving for her classroom. And right as I walk in back to mine, well, the teacher was mad at me and everyone was staring at me. At this point, I didn't think it could get any worse. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought, you know what? That's it. I'm good. Little toxicity here and there can't hurt anyone. Well, this is where the story actually ends up getting really scary. And honestly, I will say this. If this ends up happening to you, please, and I mean please, get help. Because I remember 2 weeks went by and me and her were just straight up arguing about the smallest things you could ever think about. Like, for example, I remember one of our arguments we had was about how I'm not allowed to go hang out with my friends that were guys, which is the boys, but she was allowed to go out hanging out with her friends and going to parties that were happening, and she didn't want me going. I didn't know why, and at this point, to be honest, I started losing trust in her because I thought she was actually cheating on me, funny enough. But then every time I would ask any of her friends, they would all say that she's loyal and how, like, you know, she would never go near another guy other than me. So obviously I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I remember there was this one time 2 weeks later that happened. Basically, she ended up messaging me saying that she wanted to come over and hang out with me. I said, sure, why not? She ended up coming over, and then I remember me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango once again, and I had to go to the bathroom. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I ended up getting up and going to the bathroom and, you know, deciding to take a waz, because that's usually a normal thing to do after you bust, but only guys would know that. Girls, if you're watching this, little too much for you guys to know, but going on. And basically, I remember when I came back, the girl I was seeing, my toxic ex, was being super weird. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on with her, so I kept asking her questions like, hey, is everything all right? What's wrong? And instantly at that moment, she's like, oh, like, I have to go. And she ended up basically getting up and leaving. I didn't know what was wrong with her. I didn't know what she did, but basically from there, I ended up just ignoring it and hoping that everything between me and her were finally normal. Now, this is where everything gets really awkward, because I remember as days went on, me and her, every time we talked, she seemed like she had more trust in me than ever. Like, every time I told her I was home playing video games or I was busy and stuff, she would always just believe it. It was like, for some reason, everything in her mind just ended up going away about not trusting me, until I realized why she had so much trust in me. And that was because I remember there was a day where I was at home. I was playing video games, doing my own thing, and I remember that day I ended up having family come over, and a lot of people in my family were like women at the time, because I have a lot of women in my family. And basically, there was a moment where I think it was my aunt who came downstairs, and she came downstairs and came into my room, and she was just talking to me and stuff about, you know, work and stuff, and, you know, what life is like in schools going on. Basically, we were just catching up on stuff. And at that moment, right as she walked into my room. I instantly get a call. I end up picking up the phone and I say, yo, like, what's going on? And it was my toxic ex that ended up basically yelling over the phone saying, who's that woman in your room right now? Who is she, Bubba? Tell me right now. I ended up looking at my aunt and I ended up looking back at my phone and I'm like, how do you know I have family over? She instantly decides to hang up the phone. And at this point, I was paranoid. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if she was at my house. I didn't know what in the world was happening. And at that point, I was terrified. I didn't know how she knew what was going on. I ended up basically turning off my webcam from my computer setup I had at the time. I ended up basically getting paranoid about her watching me. I ended up actually closing my window as well, just to make sure I felt somewhat out of her reach. And I remember later that day, towards the nighttime, I ended up laying down and I ended up getting another text message from my ex. She ended up saying how basically she was not like, into me anymore and how she just doesn't trust me and stuff and how she just can't handle it. I ended up asking her why and what was going on. And then she ended up finally telling me that she ended up putting a camera in my room for the last month. At this point, I remember I ended up asking her where the camera was and she literally put it in my bookshelf that I never touched because I don't read. And my parents decided to put it there for educational purposes. So I remember I started freaking out and I instantly decided to basically go to my bookshelf, get the camera and see what she's seen. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this girl literally saw everything from me beating my eggplant, getting changed, everything. I gotta say, this was the most toxic ex ever. And I remember when me and her broke up, the first thing I did to get back at her was I did the devil's tango with her best friend. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's embarrassing story. Make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. Okay, so I just want to say, back when I was in high school, OnlyFans was not considered a well-known thing. Like, OnlyFans came out back when I was, I think, only 15. So knowing it came out in the year 2016 is kind of insane. But I remember back when I was in like around 16 turning 17 is when so many girls in my high school started getting into it as if they were going to be the next 1% OnlyFans star or whatever. I don't know. It was super weird. And in this story, you're going to realize how weird it gets. But before I do get into the story, make sure to do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, follow me on Instagram. Seriously, it's the best place to go and see me, the most hottest guy in the world that pulls every girl on the planet. Yes, even your own mother and your auntie and your sister if she's of age. Anyways, going on though, let's just get straight into this crazy story. What is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. So this story takes place back when I was in high school. This was, like I said, I think the year 2017. So I was 16 turning 17 at the time. And basically it was one of the most insane things ever. Because I remember almost every girl in my school was never having a problem with money. I had no idea why. Almost like every hot girl in my school had no issues with money. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, you know what it is? Daddy's money. That was usually the go-to joke back when I was a kid. Like, oh, you have daddy's money. Oh, you have daddy's money. But then I started to realize it was a lot more than that. So I remember one time I was going through the hallway in my school and basically one of my friends walked up to me saying, yo, bro, look what I got. And he ended up showing me a photo of one of the hotter girls in my school absolutely wearing nothing, like zero clothing at all. I ended up looking at him like, bro, like, where'd you get this? Like, what? Did she send this to you? And he's like, yep, you already know. And I started looking at it and I'm like, dude, like, what? How'd you even get this? And he ended up telling me like, dude, like, I paid for it. What? You paid money to see a girl not wearing anything? That's a thing? Anyways, why did you even pay for it? It's free on the Devil's Hub. And he looks at me, he's like, nah, bro, like, it's not like that. Like, trust me, bro. Like, this is like a deeper connection with the girl so you can actually get photos. I end up looking at him like, dude, what do you mean? And he ends up basically telling me, yo, bro, just walk up to her and just talk to her, bro. Like, trust me. Like, you'll see what I mean, bro. So I remember I ended up going up to my friend afterwards later on throughout the day and I basically saw him talking to one of the hotter girls in school, which was really weird to me because my friends usually would not be able to talk to the hottest girl in school. That was a common thing for us. So I remember I ended up walking up with him being all awkward and stuff. And I'm like, hey, like, what's going on here? She ends up looking at me, the hotter girl in school, and she's like, hey, so like, I was wondering, like, your friend was telling me that you're interested in buying. Buying is what I said. Buying what? And she's like, oh, just, some photos. You want to sell me photos is what I said to her. She's like, yeah, like, don't worry. Like, I'll charge you like maybe like $20 each. I remember I looked at her and I'm like looking at her from like head to toe and I'm like, yeah, nah, it's not really worth it. And I ended up walking away. And for some reason, since I said that, it made her go crazy, like straight up insane. Because I remember throughout the entire day, she ended up straight up just like walking up to me out of nowhere saying, excuse me, why did you say it wasn't worth it? Like, you got a problem with my body or something? And I ended up looking at her. I'm like, nah, I'm just not interested. And I ended up walking away. And then after that, she ended up coming up to me another time. She's like, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you interested? Like, I'm literally like one of the more like best looking girls in school. And I end up looking at her. I'm like, yeah, you can say that in your mind all you want. I don't care. And I ended up walking away again. She got so pissed off to the point where like, I remember after school came and she basically walked up to me as I was going to my car in the parking lot. And she came up beside me. She's like, so I'm confused. was like, what's wrong? Like, do you just don't like want to spend money on me? Is that it? And I'm like, why would I spend money on you? We're not dating. And I instantly got to my car and I basically unlocked my car with my key fob. And when I did that, she saw I had my sports car, Toyota Celica GT, and it was one of the nicer cars in school, which is surprising. And she looks at me, she's like, oh, so you already have money you don't want to spend on me. She looks at my car, and I don't know what it is about my car, but for some reason, girls love the car. And she instantly fell in love with my car and me. And she basically, at that point, was all over, bro. Like, I'm not joking when I say this. I don't know if she was a gold digger or something, but she would not stop just try to get on my eggplant, bro. And I remember I was getting into my car, and she walked up to me. She's like, hey, so like, I was wondering, like, you know, like, maybe you can give me some tips then. Tips on what is what I said to her. Tips on like how to be like a better OnlyFans girl. OnlyFans is what I said. What do you mean OnlyFans? I'm not famous is what I said to her. And she's like, no, like OnlyFans. Don't you know what that is? I end up looking at her and I'm like, nah, like I have no idea what that is. Like you're whack. And I ended up going in my car, closing the door and driving away. When I drove away, I remember I was just in my head thinking like, what the hell was going on? So I ended up basically just going home and hopping on Xbox with the boys. And when I told the boys what happened on that day, they all told me, bro, I think that might be an offer for you to be her manager. Her manager? I asked with like a really big question mark at the end of it because it made no sense. What do you mean by a manager? And my friend's like, yeah, like, bro, like you could straight up be her manager, man. Like you could like be in charge of all her photos and get to see them all for free. Why would I do that is what I said. Cause like, you know, I found it weird, right? And he's like, nah, dude, like, trust me, bro. Like, just do it, bro. Just trust me. Let's just say yes and say like you'll be her manager. I ended up saying, sure, like, why not? Like, I don't really care. And I ended up going up to her the next day at school and basically saying, yo, like, if you want to be like a pro at OnlyFans, like I can teach you the way. She ended up looking at me and she's like, okay, so if you're gonna be my manager, give me a reason for you to become one. And I basically told her how I knew so much about social media and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, now I do, but back then I actually didn't. I just made up some stuff so she would understand that I want to be her manager. And she basically said, okay, fine, tomorrow my house at 4:30. Okay, is what I told her. And I said, sure, like, why not? So knowing that, and I ended up going up to the boys at school and I was like, yeah, I'm going to her house tomorrow at 4:30. They all freaked out. Like, they were all freaking out going, no way, dude, like, let's go. Yes, bro. He's like, bro, send me the photos for free, bro. Like, I really want these photos, bro. Like, they're all just on me now telling me how I should show them photos. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about photos? I'm not even getting any. She didn't give me any. And she already said yes to being her manager. And my friend tapped me on the shoulder saying, bro, just wait, man. So I remember I ended up going to her house at 4:30 that day. And when I got there, I remember when I walked through the door, she was already wearing absolutely nothing, just straight up lingerie. And as I was walking through her house, I realized that she was posing around the house and she gave me her camera and she's like, you need to take photos of me. And she ended up taking everything off. And from there, I'm like, holy cow. So I did my part and I took photos, and no, I did not touch the merchandise is what she told me I wasn't allowed to do. But then after like the first day of me taking photos, it was really awkward knowing that. And then when I got home that day, all my friends were like basically urging for me to tell them what happened and stuff. And me, I literally told them straight up, I'm like, bro, this is so weird is what I said. Because I literally had a whole flash drive with just, you know, photos of this chick. And then basically she ended up sending me a site to upload them all on. And I started realizing when I logged into her OnlyFans account, she's made so much money off the kids in our school. It's actually kind of gross. Like literally, I could say almost every nerd and every like rugby boy in our school was legit investing into this girl, paying her almost hundreds of dollars for her to just not wear anything. At this point, I was working with the Devil's Hub star. Like it was weird to me. And reminder, this was back when OnlyFans wasn't as popular. So me knowing I was her manager, I did my part. And I remember the next day, she ended up coming up to me, handing me a whole envelope. And she gave me almost like $1,000 of just money in this envelope. And she's like, that was for your first day on the job. Good job, Bubba. And walks away. I end up looking at my wallet and I'm like, dude, like, is this even legal? In my head, I'm thinking, is this like allowed? And you know, the entire time when this happened, I was really like awkwarded out. So I ended up going to the boys and I'm like, yeah, she had just paid me. All the boys ended up seeing how much money I got and they were all freaking out again. Like it was just nonstop pop of the boys freaking out and me being awkwarded out and this girl just trying to really show me off her body, which I wasn't interested in at the time still. I still wasn't. She was considered the hottest girl in our school, but in reality, I just think she had big cherries. Like there was nothing special about this chick. And I think that in a way pissed her off. So she kept keeping me as her manager in a way. I don't know. It was weird. So I remember after 1 month of working with this chick and basically seeing every piece of her body, I was really uninterested to the point where I straight up walked up to her one day at school and said, hey, yeah, I'm gonna just quit. Like, I'm gonna be honest here. I just don't think it's a good idea. And I basically walked away. She was pissed off at first, but then she realized that maybe she didn't need me. She was making enough money without me anyway. And yeah, several years later, she's almost like the 1% OnlyFans star now. I don't know. It's weird. I'm not gonna leak her name, nothing, because, you know, it's privacy information. But all I'm gonna say is that it was one of the most awkwardest things ever. Anyways, guys, that's basically it for today's story. Make sure you do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see all you dudes in the next video. Peace out, guys.
I'm still on top of the world. Never taken with your mother. Of course, let's go. Should I make it a story? Let's click record. Got that TikTok with 2 mil hit different with some more. She said she love me, she kept. Should I exit for sure? I got 100K for my life's work, so